Amy and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some more comedians and actors that I would love to see appear on Taskmaster. I have done a video on this before where I included some of the contestants, and the only one from there who has then been on Taskmaster was Sarah Millican, and she was great, just as I expected. So yeah, these are some more contestants, well, future contestants that I hope we get. There are obviously loads more. It's so hard to narrow it down, but I've got 10 here that I think would be really, really great on the show. One's kind of a cheaty one, but I've got 10. But yeah, so let's just get straight into it. I'm not going to go too much into each comedian. Just give a little bit of an overview of why I think they would be really good on Taskmaster. So first up is Natasia Demetriou, and first of all, she is just a fantastic comedian. She is doing so much great work at the moment, and I can imagine just such a big future for her. Obviously, most people know her from What We Do in the Shadows and Statlet's Flats. They're both amazing. If you haven't seen them, definitely go give them a watch. Her character is amazing in both. And she also has a sketch show called Ellie and Natasia, which is made with her comedy duo partner, Ellie White. Yeah, the sketch show is just so funny. Such bizarre things happen in that sketch show, and it's so funny. I definitely recommend watching it if you're a fan of her. As well as being really good like acting and doing improv stuff, which improv, I think, if you're good at improv, I think you'll be good at Taskmaster anyway, because it's so much of Taskmaster is improvisation with the tasks. So I definitely have confidence that she'll be good in that. I also think she'll be quite chaotic as well, given how chaotic her sketch show is and a lot of the things she does on like What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah, as I was saying, she's very good acting and writing, and I also think she's very good just in a studio. So she's been on quite a few things that like 8 out of 10 Cats and Cats Does Countdown, and her appearance on Cats Does Countdown where she like shows the picture of her dad and talks about that, I think is just really, really funny. I think that clip shows like how funny she is, how well she can work in a studio environment, and also she's just got such a great personality that I'd like to see that on Taskmaster. So linking to this, the next one I've got is Ellie White, and I think, yeah, again, like Natasia, she's just very, very hilarious and doing really, really great work at the moment. I would love a series where we've got both of them on, but I think that is a bit unrealistic. But yeah, if they do ever like a duo series or a special or something like that, I'd love to see them on it together. But yeah, Ellie is also really great on her own. So she's also in Statlet's Flats and obviously Ellie and Natasia, but she's also in a show called The Other One. She's the lead character there, and I think she's fantastic in that. And also apparently she was on Horrible History. She's also in The Windsors as well. She's doing lots of great work everywhere. I haven't seen her on many like panel shows or anything like that, but there's some interviews that I've seen her in. She's been very entertaining, and I think her personality really shines through, and I think that could definitely work on Taskmaster. So next up is Jessica Hynes, and she's a really, really good and successful actress, director and writer. She co-wrote and starred in the sitcom Spaced. She was in Bridget Jones's Diary, The Edge of Reason, and she also was like a little minor part in Shaun of the Dead. She was in Years and Years. She's done so much stuff, but the thing that kind of clicked in my head that she'd be great for Taskmaster was seeing her on Outsiders, which is very similar to Taskmaster in the fact that it's comedians doing challenges. But she was absolutely the standout for me in that series. I thought she was hilarious. She had that really good mix of being naturally quite good at the tasks and having quite a good depth of knowledge and experience, but also being quite impulsive and silly, which made her very entertaining all round, and I think that would translate very well to Taskmaster. I just think she'd be very good, and I think she's very entertaining, and she'll be very good at the challenges. Next up is Bill Bailey, and I think he is just made for Taskmaster. So first of all, he's very funny. He has done loads of really great stand-up. He's been on loads of different panel shows, such as like Cats Does Countdown, Mind the Buzzcocks, QI. He's always very entertaining when he's on a panel show. I think he is really, really great in a studio environment. He's very funny. He can kind of take the spotlight for a bit without hogging it, and I think that is kind of what we need for Taskmaster. He's also a musician and often uses music in his stand-up and his comedy acts, and I think that would translate very well to any creative tasks that we have in Taskmaster. I think being able to, they have a lot of like music tasks and singing tasks, stuff like that, so I think he'd be very good at them. And also he was on Strictly Come Dancing and actually won in 2020, so that kind of proves that he is a bit more athletic and he could handle the more like physical tasks as well. So I think he's kind of got it all covered, and from QI. I think he's been on QI kind of like enough times, and Never Mind the Buzzcocks is also kind of like trivia stuff, so I think he's smart as well. So I think he ticks every box, and I think he'd be very entertaining and very good on Taskmaster. Next up is Kevin Bridges. I think he is just very hilarious on panel and game shows. His stand-up is also critically acclaimed. He's a stand-up comedian that I really would like to see live. I haven't got the chance yet, but yeah, I'd absolutely love it. I think he'd be fantastic. All of his stand-up that I've seen, like through clips on YouTube and stuff like that, have been very funny. The thing that always reminds me of Kevin Bridges is the horse story he told on Would I Lie to You? It's one of the best moments out of that show. It shows how great he is at working with other comedians, like bouncing humour off each other, and also he does trick them, so I think that could be very good in the show as well. Yeah, he's hilarious, but not stealing the spotlight all of the time. But yeah, I think he's just very funny. I think it'd just be a constant laugh with him there. Yeah, I think it'd be great. Next up is Diane Morgan, and she is another comedian whose work I'm absolutely loving at the moment. She's been in so much great stuff recently. Motherland is one of my favourite sitcoms at the moment, and her character is fantastic. And she's also in Afterlife and Mandy, and obviously her role as Philomena Kunk is fantastic. I love it, and I feel like she would also be amazing in the studio. I think there's just so many different ways that she could go. I feel like mainly she would be kind of that low effort, but a little bit argumentative contestant. And I think that would be very good. I also think she'd be quite chaotic and unpredictable at times as well. So yeah, I just think she'd be a joy to have on the show. The next one is somebody that I think people have been wanting for a while, and that's Matt Berry. On my last video where I posted this, there were so many people who were saying they'd love to see Matt Berry, and I agree. I think he'd be really, really good. Again, I think he'd be quite unpredictable. I think every task he'd kind of approach differently. I think he'd be fantastic in the studio. I think he'd work very well with the other comedians and arguing with Alex and Greg, Alex mainly in the tasks, I think. But yeah, he's done so much fantastic stuff. What We Do in the Shadows, Toast of London, IT Crowd. He's just got so much comedy inside of him, and it'd be great to see that on Taskmaster as well. He is probably the one out of this that I think is least likely to happen. Just because I would say he is a bit more busy. I don't know at the moment. But I think he'd be amazing to have on the show. We might just get him for a one episode Taskmaster treat, New Year's treat or something. But yeah, I think his silly humour, his very dramatic, outlandish humour as well would be just amazing on the show. Next up is Fatiha Ghorri, and I was introduced to her on Outsiders, and yeah, I thought she was amazing. She was not somebody I'd heard of, but yeah, I thought she was really, really good on the show. She was a bit unpredictable with the tasks. Sometimes she would be very good and very enthusiastic. Other times she wouldn't care, and I think that would translate well to Taskmaster. She worked great with Phil Wang, and I think she'd be great on a team. And yeah, the way that she worked with Phil and talked with all the other contestants on that show kind of proves to me that she'd be very good in the studio environment on Taskmaster. This was the only thing I'd seen her on, but I went and watched some of her stand-up on YouTube as well, and I thought she was fantastic. She's very witty. And yeah, as I said, it kind of a little bit unpredictable, so I feel like that would play off really, really well on Taskmaster. I think we're going to see a lot more of her on our television screens. I think, yeah, she was absolutely fantastic on Outsiders as somebody who, in my opinion, was the least established, or one of the least established. She really was able to be a very memorable person on that show. So yeah, I definitely think we're going to see more of her, and I really hope that's on Taskmaster. Next up is a bit of a wild card, and this is Mark Silcox. And you might have seen him on Joe Lycett's Got Your Back. He's his assistant. He's very deadpan, very sarcastic. He's very, very funny, and mainly I want him to be on the show because I would love to see him and Alex Horne reacting. It would just be so funny and awkward, and yeah, I just think it'd be very good. I'm not sure how well he'd actually do in the tasks or anything like that, but I think he's hilarious. He also has this little series, there's only a few episodes on YouTube, which is called Silcox Interviews, and he's like being like a private investigator. He's just hilarious, and I think him interacting with Alex would be hilarious, and I think him being in the studio would be very funny as well. I just can't imagine him like seriously defending any of the things he does like in the tasks. So I just think it'd be very good, and he's not on enough in my opinion, and I think he deserves to be on this as well. And last but certainly not least is my kind of cheaty answer, and that is the 6 idiots. I would love to see any of them on the show. I think they're all amazing. I didn't say this in my last video because I did think it was kind of cheaty, and I talk a lot about ghosts, so I thought, you know, I wouldn't really talk about them on there. But I think any of the 6, preferably all of them, would be amazing on Taskmaster. Their humour, I think, matches up directly. It's very silly, it's very whimsical, light-hearted, and that to me is what Taskmaster is. I can't decide who I think could be the best. I know Ben Willbond does a lot of like marathons, he's quite athletic. They're all very creative. They're all really like entertaining people in like interviews and stuff like that, and like on panels. So I think that would really work well on like in the studio environment. They work together well as a team, so I think that would translate to the team tasks. I haven't really seen any of them on any panel shows or anything like that. Like maybe it's just because not what they want to do, but they are very established in like the British comedy scene. They work with loads of different, very, very well-known and established comedians and actors, and yeah, so I'm surprised we haven't seen much more of them on, you know, your more like panel shows and stuff like that. However, Matt and Jim were recently on Richard Herring's podcast, and they're very good on that. And yeah, so I'd love to see them be involved a bit more in kind of like the panel shows and stuff like that. And yeah, I just think they'd be very, very entertaining on Taskmaster. Obviously, a series where they're all in it would be amazing. But again, I don't think that's very likely to happen, especially because there is 6 of them. But yeah, they're all, I think as well, always quite willing to be a bit like embarrass themselves a bit, especially, you know, type of things they've done on like Horrible Histories. Like obviously it's all scripted, but I think that would play very well over to Taskmaster. They're all very like musical as well, and yeah, so I just think they're perfect for the show, like all of them. So I'd love to see that. So yeah, that are my 10 contestants. I'm probably just going to keep updating my list. It's very, very hard to narrow it down. And yeah, there's just so many people that I think would work well on the show. And that's why I think Taskmaster is so successful, is because it just works for so many different people and it fits with loads of different people's humour. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, it's really appreciated, and comment down below your thoughts on my list of people that I think would work great on Taskmaster, and also comment down below who you would love to see on the show as well. And if you want to subscribe, I'll have some more videos out for you soon to do with Taskmaster and Britcom and TV and everything. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!